Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call our February 3rd meeting to order. For those of you who are here and have been here before, you know that I always ask you to silence your devices before we begin our meeting. Please make sure that all the beeps and dings and things that go off are silenced. We also always begin our meeting with a moment of silence, and so please join us in doing that before we begin our meeting. Thank you. And now, if you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Escobar, announcements.
Good evening, Board. Black History Month. Join us on Saturday, February 6, 2026 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for an evening celebrating Black History Month. The event will feature live performances and poetry readings from Drums for Life, Jay Ward and Arsena Todd. The program is free and will be held at the David B. Waymer Recreation Center at 1408 Holbrooks Road. Also, we have Treasure Tree nominations. This program seeks to locate exceptional Huntersville's trees and tell their stories. The goal is to recognize our special trees and share their importance to our town and the environment. Treasure trees can include a champion tree, a physically unique tree, a rare tree, a tree or collection of trees with verifiable cultural or historical significance, or several trees in a notable grove, avenue, or other planting. You can find that application on our website. Just search Treasure Tree on huntersville.org. And then Waste Connection collections. The snowstorm has delayed Waste Connection's work. Trash and recycling collection started back today, Tuesday, February 3rd, causing a 2-day delay for Huntersville routes this week and a 1-day delay the following week. The new schedule is posted on our website at huntersville.org. Pickup will be dependent on weather and road conditions. Thank you for your understanding and patience.
All right. On our printed calendar, we had a recognition of the Huff High School Huskies, but they were not able to come tonight due to the road conditions. We just wanted to keep our kids safe. So we'll do our Black History Month proclamation. All right. A proclamation for Black History Month. Whereas in 1976, Black History Month was formally adopted to honor and affirm the importance of Black history throughout our American experience, which dates thousands of years and includes some of the greatest, most advanced, and innovative societies that we can draw inspiration from. And whereas the second week of February was chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln and was celebrated by Black people in the United States, and whereas the Huntersville Board of Commissioners takes pride in recognizing February as Black History Month, celebrating the many notable contributions that people of African descent have made to our community, state, and country. And whereas the omission of much of the history and contributions of Black people from textbooks and other literature has impeded awareness and appreciation, and whereas the celebration of Black History Month is a positive way of recognizing the culture and history of Black people vital to the core beliefs and values of this society, and whereas Black people living and working in Huntersville from the time of legalized slavery to the present day have shown a steadfast determination to live freely and equally and to press the town and the community to make manifest an equitable Huntersville where race is not a determining factor of outcomes. And whereas the contributions of Black people have played significant roles and made lasting contributions to our town's history and the history of our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development, and while working tirelessly to contribute to every aspect of American society, including business, education, politics, science, and the arts. Now, therefore, I, Christy Clark, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim the month of February as Black History Month in the town of Huntersville. I want to give a shout out to our two commissioners, Commissioner LaToya Rivers and Commissioner Edwin Quarles, who are celebrating their alma maters as well for Black History Month. So make sure you acknowledge them and give them a handshake later on. We also have a proclamation for Random Acts of Kindness Week. Whereas the town of Huntersville recognizes the value of acts of kindness that are performed without prompting or reason, and how these acts can positively impact the person offering kindness, the person receiving the act of kindness, and those witnessing. And whereas acts of kindness can be performed by any person, regardless of age, origin, education, gender, religious beliefs, lifestyle, or abilities, for the good around them. And whereas kind individuals can create a more caring community and help to perpetuate genuine acts of kindness within their city and state and throughout the world. And whereas we seek to cultivate thoughtful and compassionate residents by teaching our youth to make a difference through random acts of kindness. And whereas the positive effects of kindness are contagious, which creates a domino effect of paying it forward. And whereas Random Act of Kindness Week is recognized as an international celebration intended to encourage all of us to practice acts of kindness in our homes, schools, businesses, and communities. Now, therefore, I, Christy Clark, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim the week of February 14th through February 20th as a Random Act of Kindness Weeks. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the things that y'all do that week. Now, Ms. McGinnis is going to present us with the fiscal year 2025 financial statement.
Yes, good evening, Board. I have with me Kang Moore. I probably messed that up. I apologize. With Martin Starnes, and she was on our audit this year, and she's going to give you just a brief synopsis of what happened with the audit and some of the results. I've also put in front, or placed in front of you, the printed financials. The printed financials, I will send an email out to everybody tomorrow with an email version, electronic version, and it will also be on our website sometime tomorrow. So, and if you do have like any detailed questions about why stuff went up or down or any of those questions, it's probably better you could ask Jackie or I those questions later. So just let me know if you have any.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for allowing us to continue to serve as your auditors. We value our relationship and look forward to serving you in many years to come. We have issued a clean, unmodified opinion for fiscal year 2025 audit. An unmodified opinion is issued when an auditor can state without reservation that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. Due to the delay in the OMB compliance supplement release, the LGC delayed the reporting timeline to February 12, 2026. We have already submitted your report to the LGC and have received a confirmation that your report has been approved. And lastly, we appreciate Patty and the city staff for being prepared. They have been a pleasure to work with. And here is an overview of the general fund expenditures, budget to actual. Public Works makes up majority of the budget difference. It was about $31 million under budget due to capital projects. And this is an overview of the general fund revenues, budget to actual. Budgeted and actual revenues were lower in 2025 compared to 2024. Other taxes and licenses is the largest over budget revenue of $4 million, followed by Avalon taxes of $1 million. And this slide shows the fund's actual financial results for the year. There was appropriated fund balance planned of $46.9 million, but the town didn't have to use any of that in 2025. As a result, it reflects a positive increase in fund balance driven by revenues exceeding expenditures and transfers. And this slide breaks down the general fund balance into non-spendable, restricted, and statutory required amounts to show what is truly available for use. Please note that the non-spendable includes prepaids and leases. As a result, there was an increase of $846,000 in available fund balance in 2025. Available fund balance as a percentage of adjusted general fund expenditures, including transfers out, total debt issued, and Powell bill has a slight decrease of 2.28% from prior year. And once again, it has been a great pleasure working with Patty and the city staff. This concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Any questions, board? No, thank
right.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we have 2 people signed up for public comments. We'll start with Elaine Kearns. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. I'm Elaine Kearns. I'm back to talk about the Old Town Hall. We all want our downtown to thrive. I think the goal is to have volume, to get people to come downtown, stay downtown, shop, eat, etc. You mentioned last time you're thinking about, if you selling to a developer who would put a high-end restaurant in that location. I don't think a high-end restaurant would bring the volume that we want, because I don't think it would serve the local community. I don't know about you guys, but most of the people that I know that live around here don't routinely visit expensive restaurants. And I think we need something where people, it's become habitual for them to come down and use it. The other thing, we do have a lot of commuter traffic, and it will see the restaurant, but would they really stop on their way home to have a relaxing evening? Because if you're going to an expensive restaurant, I think you're going to stay a while and relax. Also, there's going to be a lot of traffic when all these units that are being built are filled. To become the level of draw, elegance, and notoriety needed to attract customers from the larger region, I think that would take time. I'm wondering too, we don't know anything about this restaurant, but have you seen a pro forma for it? It would be helpful to see financial projections for the next 5 years to see if it would succeed. The last thing, this is quick. As you know, I've spoken a couple times to a community economic development practitioner. That's a mouthful. I was very clear with them that I don't represent the town in any official capacity, that I'm a citizen excited to see her downtown thrive. I've been very impressed with them. They took the time to review the 2004 and the most recent downtown plans, and they have some great ideas. They're offering to do a complimentary Zoom meeting with you guys. It can include citizens, or any configuration you want. So I just want to encourage you to please check out what I've handed you and give them a call. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kearns. And now we have a very special guest. County Commissioner Elaine Powell is here. Ms. Powell, you can have 3 minutes.
3 minutes is going to go by very quickly. So I am Mecklenburg County Commissioner Elaine Powell. I am serving my 4th term, elected by you. This is my 8th year. I want to congratulate all of you. I didn't get to come to your swearing in. I haven't been into this building yet until today. It's beautiful, so fancy. I really like it. So congratulations to you. And I wanted to tell a little story about Huntersville. So I moved here 40 years ago to work with the Sisters of Mercy. I worked at Mercy Hospital, Maine. We opened Mercy Hospital South. Then I went to work at Presbyterian Hospital. One night, one of the nurses that I worked with on 7A was driving back to Huntersville. Like, it was, in 1991, it was just out there, like farmland. And she said her husband was out of town, and they lived on a farm, and there were no such thing as cell phones. And we're like, Judy, call us when you get home so we know you're okay in Huntersville. So she didn't call, she forgot. And we were so worried, and we thought, what are we going to do? Like, who's going to go to Huntersville to see if Judy's okay? So here we are, 35 years from that incident, and everything is different, so very different. And I just want to talk about how important citizen voices are to me and the difference, making sure that we all, me, you, listen to citizen voices, how important they are, how important different perspectives are, how important environmental stewardship is. And so my specialty areas on the Board of County Commissioners, we all have specialty areas. I am the chair of environmental stewardship. I will have that in my heart for eternity. My heart is green. I serve on health and wellness. My background is healthcare. I serve on Committee for Aging. It is a very important priority in North Mecklenburg because we have such an aging population. And I have several passion areas. Emergency management is one of them. I just want to tell you that I am here. And you guys know it, but I want to make sure that Commissioner Cornett and Commissioner Smallwood know, I am here to help. We have some of the best experts in the county working here in Mecklenburg County that can help for any questions that you might have. There have been some decisions made that I was unaware of, but we're here, and I only have 21 seconds, but thank you for everything, and let's collaborate more. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. And next, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. And now may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
And is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Now we're on to public hearing. 9A, conduct a public hearing for the traffic calming on Central Avenue between Delwood Drive and Holbrook's Road. Miss I'm going to mess it up. Mastro Francesco.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yes. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Roberts. I'm here to present on the traffic calming for Central Avenue. So you don't know where Central Avenue is. The Star is where we are right now. Central Avenue is south of there and just east of 115 Old Statesville. If we zoom in, the area that was studied on Central Avenue was between Delwood Drive down to Holbrook's Road. So that's about 2,250 feet. That's almost half a mile long. So this is what Central Street looks like today. It's unmarked, ditch section. This is going southbound. What I want to bring to your attention is the large trees very close to the travel lane. Now, if we're looking northbound, I'd like to bring to your attention the utility poles right at the edge of the pavement. Again, just an old, mature development. The road width that you're looking at is 18 to 20 feet wide. So anything we would do to widen this road or add any sidewalks, let's say, we would be relocating trees, we would be relocating utility poles. So let's start with the study. The community asked for traffic calming. So we started with some radars out. They're out for 2 weeks, and it came back with 33 miles per hour. That was the 85th percentile. That is above our threshold, so then we continue on with the process. The community also provides information out to their communities, making people aware of speeders and how we should respect the speed limit. So they completed that, sent us copies of everything. I then send the speed report to the police. I asked them if they could increase police presence in the area. And finally, we put up temporary radar feedback signs. So those are the signs while you drive, it will flash your actual speed. I will say that the community, I had 2 separate people stop me and say that they love those and they wish they could keep them there forever. But I told them they were just temporary. So then we go back and we restudy again. Now this time, the 85th percentile was 32 miles an hour. So it did decrease by 1 mile, but it's still over the threshold. So what happens next is we come out with a layout of traffic calming options. We work with the community to see what they think, and I usually ask the fire department and the police what their thoughts are on this. So our first option is a standard speed hump, and the second one is quite different. So I will say that the fire department was completely fine with this second option. Our police chief was a little bit hesitant, just wanted to make sure we put out a lot of education and appropriate signage. So we'll start with our traditional speed humps. So speed humps would be put in within the right-of-way. We don't have to get any property acquisition. And down this street, I would suggest that we would put 3, and they would be somewhat equally spaced, no more than 500 feet. This could be done in-house with our public works crew. The cost of 3 humps would be around $18,000. This is what it would look like on a road that has a ditch section, no curb and gutter, no sidewalks, and then the appropriate signage. Again, you can see on this one, utility poles very close to the edge of pavement, trees very close to the edge of pavement. All right, so now for the second option. It's definitely not typical, and with working with the planning department and their small area plan for the Pottstown community, we came up and thought that this might be a good solution. It's called Advisory Shoulders. It's also known as Edgeline Road. And so if you look at my sketch, you're really not going to just get a feel for it yet. But that red line is a center lane with 2 ways of traffic. And then on either side of it is a lane for pedestrian or bikes. Now, we discussed this with a few community members, and they were pretty interested in it. So that was in August. Then we met with a larger group in October to discuss this. And the community was on board. They really think this could help them. So this picture, I'm hoping, is a better illustration for you. So that center travel lane would be for vehicles going in both directions. And then the outside lanes are for bikes and pedestrians. In this layout, you cannot have on-street parking because the bike lanes are considered travel lanes. So if you are driving down the center and a vehicle is approaching you, what you do is you move to the right, both vehicles move to the right onto the shoulders and pass each other, and then continue back into the center lane. What we would do is we'd stay within the existing pavement. We'd put down some pavement markings and the signage. This helps with traffic calming because we're narrowing the road, plus gives the community sidewalks per se for people to walk on and feel they have a designated space to walk in. This option would not require any property acquisition, no relocation of poles or cutting down the trees. In the past, the community has asked for sidewalks on Central Street, but we would have to then acquire some of their property, and that's not something that they were interested in. So the planning department thought that this would be a great fit for both options. All right, so let's talk about the data, because I'm an engineer. The speed and volume from the small area, the FHWA has a multimodal network report. And so here's the graph. The dark green is the preferred area that this option, this method, would be good for. So if you see it's 3,000 cars a day is still within, is their top limit. Central Street only has 280 to 300 cars a day. So we're well within that limit. And the speed of it maxes out at 25 miles per hour. But there is still a hatched area where there's a potential that you could still use it for other areas. So here's an example of the road. You see the car driving down the center, the edge lines are marked, and that's where people and bikes, scooters would be driving in. Again, no on-street parking with this option. And I want to show you that again, the trees are at the edge of pavement. We've got utility poles, edge of pavement, and everything just stayed the same here. Here's another picture. Hopefully it's clear. There's a bicycle coming towards us on the left, and the vehicle's going away from us. The vehicle actually moved over. It wasn't necessary because they had the center lane, but just moving over, giving lots of room for pedestrians to cross. Now let's go back to my existing Central Avenue. Remember, I told you it was 18 to 20 feet wide, and I observed people just driving down the center, just today, just driving down the center, not necessarily staying to the left or the right. And when a car approached, they simply just moved over and moved across. So in fact, the actions are already there, and right now all we want to do is put some markings down. So this is what it would potentially look like. Again, no moving of the utility lines, no acquiring of property, the beautiful trees get to stay. The center lane, we would recommend at 10 feet wide, and the side lanes for pedestrians and bikes would be 4 to 5 feet wide on each side. That all stays within the existing right-of-way. You might say, how do you start this? Because when you're coming off of Delwood or you're coming off of Holbrook, you're like, oh my gosh, it's one lane. So that's not how it would be laid out. You would turn onto it as it was a 2-lane road, and it would be marked as such. And then the skip lines, the dash lines, will neck you down into the center lane and be the same way all the way to the end where it would feather back out. There is such a solution in Matthews. It is on Matthew Chapel Road. It is only 500 feet, and the road is 16 feet wide, and it is to connect anyone traveling on it, to their trail. It's only on one side because the trail connections are only on one side. For our option, we don't think one-sided only would be a proper solution. So the community has told us they were interested in trying this, and that could be a solution that we tested out first. And then if we would keep it going on for 3 to 6 months and then restudy the area and then go from there. Do you have any questions for me?
Commissioner Rivers?
So with the advisory shoulders, what is the likelihood of decreasing the miles per hour by using this technique?
So when you narrow the road, your lane, it is helping in the traffic calming. So you feel tighter, you would have the sense of slowing down. So when on
So
our,
have a sense, but it's not a guarantee.
no, it's not a physical measure like a speed hump.
Right, okay. What is the cost for the advisory shoulders in comparison to the speed humps?
Right, so I said the speed hump was around 18,000. If we were to mark this and put the signage on, it's roughly 12,000.
And so there are no other neighborhoods or communities in the town of Huntersville that has an advisory shoulder?
No, no ma'am. This would be our first street.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. And I'm gonna support whatever the community decides. What I will say is that in the past, many years ago, there was a child who was hit by a car that was speeding through Central Avenue. And to witness it and to only get a stop sign placed at David Street, that did nothing. So I hope that whatever compromise the community comes up with the town, that it's in the best interest of the residents. I like the concept, but I hope that we can take some other measures as well. But again, we'll support whatever the community wants.
Any other questions? Commissioner Smallwood?
So when the vehicle shifts over, are they actually moving into the bike lane?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So let's say you saw a person walking. I would shift over and probably slow down or stop let the other vehicle come in, and then I cruise back into the center lane.
Thank you.
Commissioner Walsh?
I actually find this an interesting concept. I'm on Central 2 or 3 times a week, headed back and forth to the Waymer Center, and I'm one of those people that kind of go down through the middle. And quite often I do see people walking and riding bikes. In fact, I bet you 9 out of 10 times when I drive it, somebody's walking or riding a bike. So to give them a dedicated place to walk and ride, I think makes sense. And same thing, I kind of go down the middle and people just shift around, but it would clearly demarcate where they can walk and ride. So I think it's an interesting concept.
Commissioner Cornett?
Yeah, I also find it really interesting. I do like what Matthews had done with adding the color. I think it actually kind of sets it apart and makes it, really shows that is for that bike path and trail. And I would hope it would slow people down.
And if we did paint it, it could be like a community involvement. So everyone has a sense of ownership to it as well.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
I think we have some speakers.
We do, yep. We have 4 public comments. Augustine, I'm sorry. I read that, it's printed there, but that was not what came out of my mouth. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Can I get a restart? I said all right too soon. Okay. Hello, my name is Augustine. I'm an advocate for the Pottstown neighborhood and community, as well as a 20-year Pottstown resident. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. To the unbeknownst, Pottstown is just another Black hood in America. So Central Avenue is just another street. We are here to speak about pedestrian safety on Central, but the reality is far more grave than people walking on the street. In order to understand what Central Avenue needs today, I believe it is crucial to understand what it was intended for in the first place. It helps to know some history. Unfortunately for us here today, the third rail is a real thing. And speaking about certain social issues, historical events causes strife and misunderstandings, something that really complicates advocacy here today. I'd like to start by defining an avenue as a road that connects streets by running perpendicular to them, most often used to facilitate travel and connectivity. In the case of Pottstown, the history is evident. Central Avenue served as a connection between Black communities, their churches, schools, and businesses. Segregation did happen. It happened here, and Pottstown is a result. But somehow, something happened. Something more. Neglect. A lot more happened. But please don't let me be the one to tell you all of it. I wouldn't be standing up here if it wasn't for a list of legends, too many to name during the time I have right now. The simplified reality is that Pottstown is a historic Black community on the east coast of the United States of America, with a living lineage that extends well beyond the 150 years that Huntersville has experienced, and well before Craighead. Pottstown is exactly what the American flag represents, past, present, and future. So what does Central Avenue need? In terms of pedestrian safety, the answers may be simple, but the simple solutions are far more complicated than logistics and budget planning. Let's be real, we wouldn't be here right now if it was only about pedestrian safety and property lines. As someone currently experiencing a small-scale version of what construction could look like on Central Avenue, I highly advise this Board of Commissions to take further steps in addressing the third rail. We're standing on it. Happy Black History Month. Pottstown is somewhere where you can experience Black history all year round, very proudly, very loudly, any day, any time, any shade, any color, all year round. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Ingrid Hooks. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I didn't really plan to speak tonight, but I wanted to be part of the community as always. I'm talking about the Glendale rezoning proposal. I know this is a meeting for it, but I want to get ahead of it. I'm asking y'all to consider.
Ma'am, are you speaking about the Delwood?
Glendale?
Delwood,
I said Glendale.
right. So this public hearing is for the Delwood
Oh, I
Street.
wrote Glendale on mine.
Did you intend to talk about the Statesville rezoning or the
The-
Sanford?
Huntersville Concord Road, Glendale rezoning of the one home that's proposed to be 4 homes.
Okay, yeah, that's next time.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay.
That's what I wasn't really thinking to it, but I'll
Come
talk.
back. Janelle Harris? Yeah.
All right. Good evening, Huntersville residents, board, and staff. I'm wishing everyone a happy Black History Month, and I hope you had a fine Groundhog Day. And speaking tonight feels a little like Groundhog Day because around this time last year, I spoke to the previous board stating that Mababu Live, a nonprofit organization that I'm president of, had been hosting monthly meetings with residents and the penultimate town board for over a year. When speaking last year, I expressed that the Pottstown community had discussed and was in favor of some raised grant funds that had been applied for to address the Church Street connection and bring millions of dollars for infrastructure into Pottstown. And that board, consisting of some of you, decided to forego applying for the funds in order to conduct a meeting with us residents to again be told that we were in favor of the application, but now that's gone. It wasn't funded, and the progress has kind of been delayed, and we just want to make sure that our progress doesn't get delayed anymore with these talks that we're having. So today, I'm standing here to say again that the penultimate board in Mababu Live did conduct meetings discovering a community voice crying out for sidewalks. An independent study was done. Funds were put aside. Meetings were hosted by the town staff, showing schematics to determine where we wanted the sidewalks to go to, where we wanted them laying, the north side or the south side. And you guys gave us feedback about what was going to happen. And while knocking on doors today along Central Avenue, I do know that there isn't a unanimous desire on Central Avenue or in Pottstown for any calming devices. However, the previous board and this board now is talking about having advisory lanes coming down. And the future of Central Avenue has drastic changes coming about with a potential entrance to a Pottstown Park on that street. Definitely the Delwood Drive getting ready to close, bringing more traffic to that street, as well as the Red Line. So all of that would make me again say, please revisit what you said that you would do, and you said it would be on a shelf until people came up and said that they were going to be interested in having the sidewalks. And I just think about the future of Pottstown, not needing temporary solutions, but needing some concrete laid down. I'm asking you tonight to find the funds, please find the funds and give a fair price to the longstanding homeowners on Central Avenue. It's a small street. Central Avenue doesn't have that many longstanding owners on that street that you could ask them and tell them, give them a good price and pay them for their land and build us some sidewalks, please. We don't want you to experiment with the detriment of our elders and children's safety. Just budget the price, put the sidewalks along Central Avenue between Holbrooks Road and Delwood Drive. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Rachel Zwift. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Rachel Zwift, and I live on Central Avenue, and I have a 14-year-old son that loves to play on Central Avenue. I actually was the petitioner of this project, bringing it to 4Light to be done. And I want to thank the board and the staff on the amount of time it took to lay this out and actually offer us the proposal for the advisory shoulders. In the meeting in December, yes, we did not have a clear consensus, but the understanding was that we would go forth with the advisory shoulders as a template to see how they did. And then if we needed speed humps after that, revisit that. That is kind of what the community is looking to happen. We were hoping, we had that meeting in October. We were hoping it would have happened by November, but we understand time got away from us. So my ask is that we go forward with that, with what we originally talked about as far as laying down the temporary shoulders, and then if we needed them to go forward with the speed humps. I know one of the issues with the speed humps, as they are on Delwood Drive, is that they may need to be a little bit higher because they're not actually slowing down people on Delwood, and that's definitely been brought to me as a community advocate for several times by people kind of everywhere. A lot of people do walk down Central. That's why they're some people that walk their dogs and just walk up and down the street really want the advisory shoulders to help mark out what those lanes would be. And I think that traffic would, follow as they always do in different type of neighborhoods from moving from one side to the left. My other ask is that, hold on, let me find my thought. Give me 1 second. Oh, the thing that Laura did not bring up is one of the other reasons that we talked about the advisory shoulders being a positive is because with the issues with DOT on Holbrooks, this could lay way for the possibility of a crosswalk then proceeding to happen to walk over Holbrooks to the Delwood Center, which would make it a little bit safer if she wants to come back up and bring that to you. That's one of the things that could help possibly move DOT forward with something like that. I said I'm even willing to paint them myself, but DOT has their own regulations, but that is in their standards of having something there. So if she wants to bring that back up, is I know one of the things that really sparked interest for me. And then also I want to kind of put a shameless plug in that the Pottstown Heritage Group, along with History by Us, will be featured on PBS tonight as their first story. So please check this out on, PBS Charlotte, 8 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah.
If you'd like, I can explain a little bit more what Rachel was talking about. So at Holbrooks Road, that's a DOT road. And what we would like, what the community would prefer is down here at the bottom, they would like to be able to cross the street safely so they can get to the Delwood Center. So we asked DOT if we could, it is already a always stop. We asked DOT if we could mark the crossings on the ground. And they said no, because there is no receiving sidewalks. So if we put these advisory shoulders, they said they might entertain them to let us be able to put the markings of pedestrian crossings on Holbrook Street.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions around that part?
Yeah, I'm confused. So you said DOT, the ask was to make a crosswalk to make it safer to get to the Delwood Center?
Yes, to cross over Delwood, like just the hatching, the marks.
Okay, from Central to Delwood.
Oh, I said the wrong word. I'm
Okay.
sorry, you're right. Waymer Center.
Waymer. Okay, I was
I
confused.
did.
I was like, wait.
I went to the wrong street.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yep. If you wanted to know more about the grant that, I have, okay. Heather Maloney can talk to that.
All right. Yep, thank you, Heather.
To address the concern from the residents about pursuing the build grant, we are actively working on a reapplication to that as a long-term strategy to fund sidewalks on Central, Delwood, and Holbrooks. So this is kind of an interim solution that isn't necessarily, doesn't mean that we're not pursuing that long-term vision. So.
Thank you, Heather. And I will say that this was also discussed at the budget meeting, correct? If I'm correct in saying that the bill grant was presented to us at at the budget retreat, and we all agreed that we would revisit and send in an application for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this? All right, thank you. We will proceed to item 9B. Conduct a public hearing on petition R25-15, Old Statesville Road mixed use. Mr. James, you have the floor.
Thank you and good evening. Before I start, I'd like to please enter my staff report into the record for R25-15 Old Statesville Road mixed-use conditional district rezoning. So to start, let's go over the basics of the rezoning request. On the screen, you see in the hatched area the proposed rezoning development. In that purple area is currently Highway Commercial Conditional District. That's currently where Dearness Gardens exists today. That is zoned Highway Commercial Conditional District, and then the 3 parcels below that to the south are zoned neighborhood residential. Those are vacant pieces of land. The proposed rezoning is to go to neighborhood center and conditional district for mixed-use development. And that would consist of some apartments, townhomes, some vertical mixed use in the front along Old Statesville Road. And neighborhood center is a district that is intended to have an interconnected street network with shops and commercial uses and residences, civic uses, and kind of an interconnected network. You see across the street, you do have some neighborhood center districts. There's some neighborhood residential to the south, some general residential to the west, and some more general residential and neighborhood residential to the north. Neighborhood center is in the general vicinity, so it is an appropriate district in this area. And also the total area of this rezoning would be appropriate for its own neighborhood center. On the screen, you see the context map with the site plan, the proposed site plan, and then the area. It is in a mixed-use center. That's the radius around kind of the roundabouts there, and it encompasses most of this site. There's a little corner that is not within that mixed-use center. To the south, you've got congregate care, senior living, and then kind of surrounding to the north, west, and to the south, there's large lot, single-family uses. Here's the proposed site plan. The proposed site consists of 7 total buildings, the 2 along Old Statesville Road. They're on the right side of that plan. Those are vertical mixed-use apartment buildings with some commercial on the ground floor. The one to the north has approximately 5,000 proposed commercial square foot, and the one to the south is approximately 3,000 square feet of commercial space. There's 2 other apartment buildings within the middle of the site, and then 2 townhome buildings and a clubhouse. There in the middle, you see some stream buffers. There's an intermittent and a perennial stream going through the site. So this site would propose to disturb those buffers. I'll get a little more into that and some of the next slides. This proposal is for up to 254 total residential units. The applicants are offering 10 attainable housing units, 4 at 80% AMI and 6 at 100% AMI. So moving into some of the modifications that are requested in order to make this plan happen. Number 1, we've gone over this in a couple of plans previous to this one. They are requesting 100% attached housing. In this district, 30% attached housing is allowed by right. So the applicants are asking for 100% attached housing, and those are in the form of apartment buildings and townhomes. Staff does recommend a higher percentage of townhomes, and that is the 2 smaller buildings there on the northwestern part of the site plan. We're requesting that quadrant of the plan be more of a mix of townhome houses as opposed to mostly apartment buildings. The second modification request is in mixed-use buildings. That's the type of buildings that they are proposing along the frontage. The ordinance requires 60% of that ground floor space to be commercial square footage. This plan offers around 17 to 20% of ground floor commercial percentage. Staff recommends a revision to get a little closer to that 60% commercial space for those two mixed-use buildings. Moving into the next modification request is tree save, 30% specimen required. This plan proposes about 8%. As we all know, the mitigation requirements changed a few months back, in which if you now mitigate higher than 50% in this case, then it would go to a rezoning. So this is a modification request. In this case, staff is in favor of mitigation through the tree bank fund, since a majority of the trees that would need to be saved for tree save are in the northern section of the plan, where that street connection is needed for connectivity. The fourth modification request, there's a 30-foot vegetated buffer requirement to adjacent properties. This plan proposes disturbance with a couple of small areas, disturbance within those 30-foot buffers. One to the north along where you see that townhome to the northwest of the property, and then another would be there where the SCM retention pond is to the southwest corner. There's some encroachment into that buffer. Staff is requesting that the plan be revised to be fully out of those buffers. We are okay with a small amount for grading with replanting, but as the plan currently is proposed, we're not in favor of those encroachments. The next modification to the plan is intermittent stream encroachment disturbance, and I'll get more into depth on that in the next slide. Staff can support this because the ordinance does allow mitigation with mitigation credits. There's actually a variance request for disturbance of the 100-foot perennial stream buffer. And this kind of delineates the difference between the two. In the light blue area on the screen that kind of goes right through the middle of the proposed development is an intermittent stream, and there's a 30-foot stream buffer on that. This plan does propose to develop within that area, but again, it does allow that mitigation in the ordinance if the town board would decide to approve it. The perennial stream, however, is a dark blue area to the western side of the properties. That has a 100-foot stream buffer, and in order to disturb that, you have to go through a town variance process, possibly a state variance process as well. Staff doesn't usually make a habit to allow any disturbance in a perennial buffer, nor do we believe that there's a hardship to have to build into that area. So staff has requested to the applicant to revise the plan to stay out of that red hatched area, which is within that 100-foot perennial buffer. On the screen, you see the vertical mixed-use building and the apartment building on the bottom. The vertical mixed building on the top, as you see, does propose up to about 20% of that commercial space on the ground floor. While staff does appreciate the design of the building and it does meet our standards, we are asking for a bit more commercial space on that ground floor of that mixed-use building. And then it's the same style of the apartment buildings to the bottom of the screen. That is a 3-story building, and on the street frontage is the 4-story mixed-use buildings that do meet ordinance requirements for maximum height. And the other style of building is the townhomes, which is in the far northwest quadrant of the proposal, and it's a 2-story, similar design, which meets our standards. We have requested the design of the clubhouse for the next submittal. Moving forward, we'll get into the 2040 Huntersville Community Plan and what this plan proposal does support and what it does not. It does support quite a few initiatives in the community plan. The plan, on the screen, you see the red area is the proposed site. It is within the mixed-use center in that dashed circle area. And it is also within the town core. So the 2040 plan does call for this area to have higher density and to center the density around transportation networks, which this is on Old Statesville Road, Highway 115. This plan does encourage a mix of uses. However, I also have, it does not support this initiative as well because we would like a higher mix of commercial space. It does encourage commercial area in that core as well. It follows our guiding principles for design, which is building on street frontages or urban open spaces. It has interconnected streets. There's street stubs to the west and to the south. There is a diversity of housing options. There's the 10 attainable units, so they've gone above and beyond for attainable housing. And like I said previously, it does improve connectivity. Moving to where the plan does not support and the community plan initiatives is a mix of land uses. It's too low of commercial uses. Again, the ordinance requires 60% ground floor commercial. They're at about 17 to 20%. We think that that area can support more retail and service uses. Mix of housing types. We feel that getting a lower density towards the back corner against some of those single-family homes and getting more mix of the townhomes at 2 floors would do the plan some justice and the community plan some service as well. Higher design standards as far as urban open space goes. Go back to the site plan. In the middle of the screen, in between the 2 front buildings, you've got a small urban open space, and then there's some behind the parking lot that's in that green area on the screen. Town is asking for a more integrated urban open space and usable plan, one that's more activated for the urban open space. Protect existing housing stock, kind of went into that before with the lower density to the back of the proposed development. And then encourage the protection of wetlands and stream buffers. As previously noted, it does encroach upon intermittent and perennial stream buffers. The town staff is requesting to get out of those perennial and not encroach in those perennial buffers. So as far as staff's recommendation, at this point, staff does not recommend approval of the rezoning request for the items previously spoke on. It is worth mentioning that this plan has come a long way since the beginning of that submittal. They've added more street connectivity. The plan is laid out more to what our guidelines and our principles would say, but at this point, as far as the makeup of the housing, the amount of commercial space, the stream buffers, some of the open space detail, and some of the adjacent buffer issues, staff at this time is not recommending approval for the plan. The applicants do have a presentation, but I'm here for any questions you may have before that.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yeah, just have a couple. In the staff report under LU 8.2, talks about encouraging the achievement of higher design standards. You mentioned you like some of the design, but then in the report it says the current plan, I won't read the whole thing, but the current plans for architecture of the multifamily units are lacking minimum design standards of the ordinance. What's?
I think that was a typo, and what it was meant to talk about was urban open space design.
Okay.
The architecture does meet our minimum standards. The amount of commercial space on the first floor could introduce more shops or retail service type businesses. But as far as the actual design goes, it does meet our expectations. The 8.2, what the LU 8.2 in the staff report should have dug more in depth with was the urban open space requirements. Those were touched on in the body of the staff report, but that's what that intention was for 8.2.
Okay, I was actually going to follow up is the urban open space. I was reading the staff report. What exactly are you guys looking for?
So in a development and a subdivision as large as up to 254, I believe that's the number units, we're looking for urban open space that's more usable. I think the area, the area of the urban open space meets the minimum sizes, but when you have 254 units, we're looking for a more activated urban open space, a more usable urban open space, somewhere where kids can play, or if diners can go sit for the commercial areas, for restaurants.
So like a courtyard or place?
Courtyard, an open green. This is a more urban form, so a large green probably wouldn't fit here, but more of an activated urban open space with just more usable space for the residents as well as anyone visiting.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Commissioner Rivers?
Can you go back to the map? Because I'm just trying to picture this, like where specifically
Sure.
are we looking?
So this is the southern roundabout, new roundabout on Old Statesville. And the northern 3 parcels are the Dearness Gardens properties. Yeah, should have elaborated on that a little more at this slide. But then the 3 parcels to the south are vacant property. I think there's 3 owners of these properties now. But it's right after the southern roundabout. You're welcome.
Commissioner Quarles?
You say LU10, diversity of housing. The project itself is mixed use. And then in another word, you say you wanted to convert apartment D to townhouses, so from apartments to townhouses. If we're trying to attract more beds downtown, as we're trying to bring in more businesses, give me the why to convert building D from apartments to townhouses. And also, you can't see that building from the main street.
Sure. I'll go back to the site plan, give it a little more reference. So the diversity of housing can go into also attainable housing. So you've got 10 attainable units. It does meet that, but as far as the mix of housing goes, what we'd like to see is more density up towards the road, and it just teetered back to less dense along that northwestern section where there are single-family homes, and diversify the type of housing we're getting. We do have a lot of apartment buildings coming online, and not as much townhomes currently. So a plan like this would give some positive diversity of housing in this section of town by introducing that other type and not just apartment buildings. Because what you have here is 254 units where 244 approximately of those would be apartment buildings and units, and only 10 as townhomes.
So you say other apartments coming online, but they're after this project here. So would we not look at having them to give us their townhomes versus this true mixed-use project?
We could. This is what, through months of work, staff is, basically through our research, what we found would be a better mix in this general area with, you've got single family currently, and, you know, that could develop in the future, but currently there are single family homes there, and that kind of density, 4-story apartments on the front, and then 3 all the way through to the back, it just seems too dense for us currently with no other density around there.
And then you didn't mention infrastructure, but I know when we first met with the developer, it was one road coming out. Now we have 2. I know all of us ran on infrastructure, and I see that they have additional infrastructure. There'll be a lesser burden on our taxpayers, but also, are they not proposing to widen part of 115?
There are some improvements on 115. I believe there's a turn lane, northbound turn lane, but it doesn't widen Old Statesville Road necessarily, other than the turn lane.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but it does, like you said, it does introduce a grid-type network with infrastructure, which is a positive, a definite positive plan. The first renditions of this plan it was mainly a driveway coming in with a couple of large buildings. So they've added that kind of grid network that we're looking for in a neighborhood center.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Commissioner Cornett?
I'm just looking at this. It looks like there is a fairly substantial impact to the wetlands and the area here. I know some of these streams are not permanent, but it looks like it's very substantial. Am I reading this correctly? Will this have an environmental impact?
Well, there's environmental impacts currently for disturbance into the stream buffers. As far as wetlands go, the Corps of Engineers has not fully assessed that at this point. That usually comes at the construction level. So I can't get into the specifics of that now, but we did touch on our recommendations against developing in that 100-foot perennial buffer. So yeah, there are some environmental impacts for sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we have the applicant? Okay, can I have the applicant come up?
All right. There you go. You're welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the board. My name is Bridget Grant. I'm a land use consultant with Moran Van Allen, and I'm pleased to be here tonight on behalf of High Street District Development. It's always hard after I watch a staff presentation. I want to redo my entire presentation. So I'm going to skip through a lot of the highlights. Jesse did a great job describing the basics that you are familiar with. And I'm going to start with this slide. I always like to say that conditional zoning is an iterative process. We go through a series of changes. We work with staff, elected officials, stakeholders, and residents. So you can see we started with our original plan submittal back in June of 2025. We had another submittal in November, and then a rezoning and sketch plan resubmittal, the current plan that's on file, in December. What you will note is that we increased our number of affordable units from none up to 10, our commercial square footage from none up to 8,000. We were originally proposing 270 multifamily units. We're down to 244 with up to 10 townhomes. We've also worked on the access and the network to really meet that overall goal of connectivity in this area. As Jesse mentioned, we've got a 7-building site. You can see our multifamily buildings are on the front. Sometimes it's a little easier to read in color than the black and white ones that you were looking at. So the orange buildings on the front are 4-story. One has 5,000 square feet of potential commercial on the ground floor. The other has 3,000. The 2 buildings in yellow are 3-story multifamily, and then we've got the 2 townhome buildings to the back. We're working through a number of changes that staff has been recommended that we make. And so you're going to see some adjustments to this plan. Based on what you're looking at right now, this is our attempt to incorporate the street network and meet that goal for a mixed-use development. When we had our community meeting, one of the biggest topics we spent time on was the distance of the proposed building to the adjacent single-family residential. So it was most helpful for us to do a cross-section showing you where if you were in one of the homes, the closest home to the proposed development, it's about 345 feet till you get to the face of the proposed multifamily buildings. So it gives you a pretty good distance at the rear of their lots, but also the existing tree buffer that's there. And then you've got about an 80-foot public street right-of-way before you get to the building. So we just thought it would be helpful to share this graphic. We have gone through our traffic study, and we are making that improvement to Old Statesville Road. I'm sure staff or one of our traffic engineers here that can help us answer any of your questions specific to the traffic study. And Jesse did a great job of describing the elevations, and we appreciate the recognition that we meet all of the standards. I think what you'll notice is that we've got varied roof lines, articulated massing, a change in materials. We've got those active ground floor uses and balconies throughout. You can see our goal is to really create something that engages the pedestrian realm, the public street. This is just another example showing you the overall quality that we intend to develop on the site. This other slide shows you that tearing down, how you've gone from the 4-story elevation you saw on the previous slide to the 3-story elevation as we step back down to the 2-story townhomes. And we appreciate the comments about urban open space. We are working on that. I think a lot of the community today, when you're looking at urban open space, it's not necessarily activation the way we think of like a kid going out and playing ball. A lot of us like to just find a place to sit outside, those places where you can engage, be outside, you can use the spaces in a flexible manner. Let me go back to my site plan. So we've got a couple of open plazas, but we also have Area E, which is behind the pink clubhouse, which is another amenity area. In addition, we basically have a lot of natural area that we think the residents will be able to enjoy in its natural state. So we think we've got a good combination of natural vegetation, amenity area near the clubhouse, and then 2 urban open spaces. I promise I will not read all of this, but this helps me get my thoughts together. When we were going through, there were, as Jesse mentioned, about 6 comments left for us to address. One of them was the idea of converting one of our apartment buildings to additional townhomes. And to your point, Commissioner Quarles, we would like to keep it as a multifamily building. We think it's important for us to support the 8,000 square feet of small business and incubator type space with rooftops. We also think it's an opportunity for us to provide more rooftops for the businesses you're all trying to attract in the downtown area. So we think we've done a pretty good job of meeting the goals of the comp plan, which is to have a mixed-use development here, and this is where density has been identified. And so we think that tearing down from 4 stories to 3 stories to 2 stories helps make that transition, but also gives us that critical mass of residential units to support the businesses that we're trying to attract. That falls in line with increasing the commercial percentage for the mixed-use development. In our experience, we like to look at a mixed-use district in its entirety, not just on a parcel-by-parcel or development-by-development basis. So we think for the amount of density that we're proposing here, it's the right amount of retail. We don't have a big anchor, a grocery store, or a big drugstore to support. This is really the types of space that you would imagine for small business or incubator. And that does better when it's scaled to this amount. So this is where we're most comfortable. We definitely have concerns with not having, with having vacancies. Anyone would be concerned with having commercial vacancies. So we feel like this will fill up and be a complement to what's happening downtown, as well as a resource to our residents. I think it's also important to mention that we're filling out the spaces. We're delivering commercial space in a finished condition, so it's more achievable and attainable, again, towards small businesses that don't want to take on the burden of trying to upfit everything. Move development out of the perennial stream, forthcoming. We're taking care of that change, and we are no longer going to need a variance. I've already touched on the redesign of the open space to be more active and functional. We're just really trying to keep these multiple public open spaces, as our gateway, and really benefit from the flexibility of active and passive spaces for gathering and simply getting outside with curated experience to connect people in their surroundings. We are going to maintain the vegetation in the 30-foot buffer, so that's going to be taken care of on our revised plan. And we're going to address all the outstanding issues. So I think when it comes down to the staff comments, the two places we aren't easily able to address is the decrease in the number of units and the increase in the commercial space, and I'm happy to answer questions about that. At the end of the day, through great collaboration with staff and stakeholders, we've been able to check a lot of boxes. We are bringing forward a project that has affordable housing, infrastructure wins with connectivity, job creation from the construction perspective, but also long-term small business opportunities. We're looking at an increase to the tax base, proximity to public transportation. It's always nice to be able to say we're consistent with the adopted land use policy, and we think that's a plus on this. We're very happy with the quality of architecture that we've worked through to get to this point, and we think that we've got thoughtful and varied residential options with that flexible commercial space to serve a wide range of small businesses. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yeah, you mentioned that you're going to have some, we'll call it retail space, but the commercial space, what do you expect, what kind of businesses are expecting to attract? I mean, retail's different than office space.
It is. I think we're looking for anything. I think when you think about small business spaces, you can see a small boutique, a small retail shop, but you can also see an architect's office, a small insurance office, and I think we're setting it up to be able to support all of those non-residential uses. There's even an opportunity, we talked about a small sandwich shop maybe where you're not necessarily preparing food on site, but selling prepared foods. We looked at the full range.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hunt?
I have a couple of questions. So first, I just want to clarify that you are not planning to disturb the 100-foot buffer anymore?
Correct. We're
Okay.
planning to send in a revised plan that addresses all of the comments related to the stream buffer and the 30-foot buffer.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions from the Streams and Wetland Report. What is a non-jurisdictional wetland?
I'm going to ask one of our engineers to answer that specifically. You can come up to the microphone, Craig. State your name and who you're with. Thanks, Craig.
Yeah, I'm Craig Berwick with Seaman Whiteside, civil engineer. A non-jurisdictional wetland is a wetland that basically the state doesn't have requirements of. It's usually connected to a perennial stream directly. So these wetlands are not connected, so they would not be jurisdictional.
Okay, so then in terms of the impact to them, there isn't one, or how does that work?
They don't consider, there's a certain threshold where if you impact it below like 5,000 square feet, you don't have to do any mitigation for it. So we are below that threshold.
Okay, okay. And then the Streams and Wetlands Survey also talked about doing a professional land survey of the flagged features on the site. Did you do that?
I think that's being in works. I'm not positive on that one, though.
When would we know?
If it's required, it will be done. I think what happens is they go out and they flag it, and they send it to the state with their findings, and then the state has to verify that their flagging of the features is correct. So that is being worked on, to my knowledge, yeah.
Okay, okay. In the community report, it also talked about how the rezoning doesn't require the Section 404 or Section 401 permits, like through the Army Corps of Engineers, et cetera, but you would still need one if you were to do construction.
Yes, you would need one. It would still be under that threshold for the stream buffers. So there's a few different types of 401, 404 permits. We're on the like minor side of that, but you would need those permits.
Okay, is there a chance you wouldn't get them?
I have never seen not getting them, no.
Okay, okay, understood. And then this is more of a staff question, but if there was to be a by right project there, they wouldn't be able to disturb the streams or the wetlands, correct?
Correct. The intermittent disturbance is through a rezoning, and the perennial is through quasi-judicial variance.
Right, and the same would be said for the tree mitigation because of the
Correct.
ordinance we just changed.
Correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, thanks, Jesse.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? And I would just say that to continue to work with staff on the Building D request to have more varied housing there and to continue to think about more expansive mixed use. Something more than a real estate office or an insurance office, things that are active spaces where people would come and go versus places that would close at 5 o'clock.
Absolutely, thank you.
Any other questions? Could we have a few public comments? James McCarthy, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is James McCarthy. I am the adjacent landowner to this property. I own the property at 133 Old Statesville Road and the 2 other properties that are adjacent to it, and I am in support of this project. I am a landowner and a business owner. I've worked here in Huntersville for 26 years building entry monuments for National Home Builders, and during that time, in 2017, I decided I would save up my money, and I found an opportunity to purchase land here in Huntersville, and I purchased 9 buildable lots in Monteith. I bought those, I built those, I sold those, and I liked it so much here, I saw an opportunity right next door, and that's how I came to own 1333 Old Statesville Road. So I purchased that, and other lots became available, so I purchased those as well. When I saw this development, when it came across, and I saw it, and the nature of it, it was exciting because I saw an opportunity for the mixed use, which creates more opportunities. There's a lot of improvements that they're doing as it relates to the road, and I would like at some point in my future to do the same thing here and develop that site, which is adjacent to it. So when you talk about it, the property that's next to it, that's mine, and I own it, and I saved my life savings to purchase it. And seeing something like this, I would welcome it, and I hope that everyone in the commission will as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob McCauley, you have 3 minutes.
Mayor Clark, board members, I'm Bob McCauley. I live at 109 Mount Holly, Huntersville Road. I own 107 Mount Holly, Huntersville Road, which I live in 109. I grew up in 107. And I also own 105 Mount Holly, Huntersville Road, and I also own a lot behind that. So I've lived on this property my entire life. Dearness Gardens was actually my grandparents. The 11 acres there, the whole project they're talking about was actually my grandparents' farm until I was about 15 years old. And then when they passed away, it went to one of my uncles, and my dad actually helped the Strickland start Dearness Gardens. I'm probably the property owner that's most impacted by this rezoning. Like I said, I live and own the 5 acres adjacent to the northern boundary of the property. I went to the community meeting, and I have reviewed the rezoning application. Although I know we already have a lot of apartments in Huntersville coming online, I understand the plan for higher density along Highway 115 in the 2040 plan. Although, like many others, I wonder if and when the light rail will actually happen along the corridor. It is also disappointing that so much of the new development is rental property instead of home ownership. With that being said, I understand the buildings A, B, and C, which are along 115, those 3 and 4-story apartment buildings, which that includes those 3 buildings, 102 apartments, I believe. But my concern is the apartment D, which is back into the property, and that one has more impact on me. If that building D is built, I'll have a 3-story apartment looking right into my backyard and my neighbors as well. So I'm asking that building D be changed back into the 2-story townhouses. There's no buffer that you can build that's going to stop a 3-story apartment building looking into the back of your property. And I'm sure most of y'all probably don't live adjacent to a 3-story apartment building. What I'm proposing is you do something similar to what you did behind Discovery Place Kids, where you built the apartments out on Gilead Road, and then back behind there, it filters back into the two-story townhouses to have some respect for the existing neighbors. I've also looked at the transportation impact analysis, and I was surprised that there's no right turn lane into this project. Right down the street into ARD, the 55 plus, there is a right turn lane, so I'm not sure why there's not a right turn lane into this one. And also, I thought it was kind of odd that the traffic analysis looked at Holbrook Road, the road into Monteith Park, Verhoff Drive, but it didn't all look at the roundabout at 115th in Mount Holly, Huntersville. I don't understand why you're looking at things south, but nothing looking north of that, which the roundabout there is actually closer than any of those others. So I thought that was kind of odd.
Mr. McCauley, your time is up.
Okay,
Thank you. Jake Laudert, you have 3 minutes.
Jake Laudert. I'm Bob's neighbor at 201 Mount Holly, Huntersville Road. I'm more in line with what he and the staff are saying. Like the impact that we're going to face is not just our privacy, but the wildlife that lives back there, the light pollution, the noise. There is an impact to it. The stream. I work in commercial construction, so I understand the need for growth and staying employed and stuff like that, until it hits your backyard, obviously. But this is a little excessive. The traffic is already overwhelmed. Our infrastructure is already, highly burdened. Our schools are overflowing. And now we're looking to, more density, but we haven't really addressed the issues that we're really facing, and we put our kids through school here. The schools are crowded. There needs to be a little bit more balance before we just pack everybody in here and then try to deal with everything afterwards. We're already 20 years behind on all of our infrastructure, and there just doesn't seem to be a plan on addressing those issues prior to building everything up. Try not to be emotional about this. This is our home that's impacted, but it's also our community, and everybody here is impacted the same. So before you guys vote yes to do this rezoning, I would just ask that we do a bigger, more in-depth environmental study, versus just putting shovels in the ground. We have a pond, we have a stream, we have wildlife. Our kids play here, we live here. Let's just be responsible about it, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Christine Wallach, you have 3 minutes.
I'm Christine Wallach. I live on the south side of Vermillion. Just want to say first, happy Black History Month, everybody. And the snow has been lovely, but maybe next year you can kind of make it for Christmas time. That would have been really nice. I have a lot of weird comments here. They're just not written out, but stick to the commercial space requirement here. I was so excited to hear that there was going to be development there, which is kind of maybe scary, but I heard there was going to be commercial space there, and I thought that would be wonderful. And then the applicant was talking about the amount of commercial space to support that building. But there's other places that are nearby that would like that commercial space as well. So they should have to get closer to that requirement of 60%. Traffic, how is anybody going to turn left out of that place in the morning on a school day? If you've ever been down Old Statesville Road, it's just jam-packed with cars because of the schools that are farther down to the south. And sure, getting into there is going to be easy. The senior community are, I'm assuming, mostly retired people and can make their schedules so they don't have to leave at that time, but people that have to commute are going to have to come out during all that traffic. There's really no outdoors to hang out here. I appreciate the part about the sitting areas for restaurants that aren't even going to exist because there's not going to be any cooking. I was hoping for some restaurants over there, so that is also kind of weird. Tree save, cutting down all the big trees, that also seems like a bad idea. I appreciate the picture that had the trees in the parking area, though, because that definitely prettied it up, because I was really not happy with the picture before that. But a big plus on the affordable and attainable units, if we could just make sure that they're not isolated to one area. That's been brought up in various other talks about different projects, and maybe if we can, especially if that building D gets converted to townhomes, if we can make sure that there's one of them as one of the townhomes as opposed to just the apartment units. Thank you. I think that was it. Thanks.
Thank you. Beth Pell, you have 3 minutes.
Hello. Thank you so much for serving us and our community. My name is Beth Pell, and I and my family live 13500 Mount Holly Huntersville Road. Our property backs up to the back end of this. We have a 1-acre pond or lake right behind it, so all the land in this district is going to funnel into our lake. And we have a healthy lake right now. We had a river otter visit last week. We were very happy to see him. So we would like to keep this area beautiful and clean. So my greatest concern is that these properties are part of the protected Mountain Island Lake watershed. And this is crucial for our future drinking water, clean water supply for our community. I'm concerned about the large amount of impervious surfaces in the proposed development that would have an adverse effect on the current and future water supply. From our previous meeting with Maureen Van Allen, I learned that there has not been an environmental impact assessment, and I believe that that would be necessary. Since we do have these concerns about this development and the detrimental effect on the watershed now and in the future, I would love it if we got experts in to evaluate the impact so that we can make wise choices, that we can steward this land well, that we could preserve it for future generations. And we are now the current caretakers of this land and in the water, and we need to balance this growth with the conservation for the sake of all of us. So as a part of the protected watershed, I would like to hear from you, our town council and our planning board, that we've done our due diligence by requiring an environmental impact assessment, and that we believe that this type of development that's being proposed for this protected watershed is ideal for this watershed. That you've sought expert advice who agree that this project is ideal for this watershed, and that this is not, if it hasn't been done, I ask that we pause the process to have it done. And by the way, we have a treasure tree in our yard. It's been marked for the last 30 years. Loblolly Pine was marked by the Mecklenburg County. It's a treasure tree. It's huge. So we'll add it to the list. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff or the applicant? All right, we will close. Oh, yeah, Mayor Pro Tem Hunt.
Are the attainable units floating? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if you wanted the microphone, but yes, they are floating.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we will conclude item 9B and move to item 9C. Conduct a public hearing on petition R25-16, a request by the property owners to rezone 44 acres at the northeast corner of Sanford Road.
Good evening, Brian Richards for the staff. At this time, we'd like to enter our staff report to the record. As the mayor has pointed out, the location of this for this rezoning, you can see highlighted there in the hatched area to the northeast corner of Sanford Road and 115. The applicants are requesting to go from corporate business conditional district to highway commercial conditional district, as well as TODR conditional district. Just give some plan highlights. The applicants are proposing about 71,000 square feet of commercial for this project, 324 apartment units, 96 townhomes, At this time of the report, the applicant was proposing to offer 5% of those units as attainable units. That's about 21 units. We have had further discussions about potentially opening that number, so they can speak to that tonight. There I have a little bit of a list here for modifications that we're working through to narrow that down as the plan gets revised. Currently, there is a swim buffer impact that will result in some mitigation credits. They're requesting a block length waiver. We're discussing having that be removed by potentially introducing pedestrian pathways. We'll need to work through that through some design revisions. Building drive-through locations on the south side adjacent to Highway 73. Need to work on some of the screening requirements for that. There is currently a requirement for a double row of street trees on all thoroughfares. The double row would remain along Samford Road. The internal street north-south is a minor thoroughfare. They're asking to remove the second row of street trees. We're on board with that because this is a TOD situation very similar to what we had to the north, 15%. So we'd like to get those numbers up a little bit. You can see some plan infrastructure highlights. The extension of Siegel Church Street up to the north that ties into the Station South and Caldwell Crossing project that will complete that all the way up to Mays Road. We're going to have NC 73 has proposed the Super Street design that will begin construction in the next several years. CATS will be installing a bridge over Highway 73 for the passenger rail. Freight rail will stay at grade through this area. So it limits the connections that are possible over to 115. So you're going to have the one penetration point to the south, as well as connecting up to the north and then over to Coach Lane, where there will be a new signalized intersection. And of course, the Seam Trail runs through this project, and we're working through that design with the applicants as well. Speaking of the Seam Trail, currently they're showing it running through a couple different scenarios, up Siegel Street and over, and then north into one of their urban open spaces. We were doing a study about the possibilities of having a tunnel under Highway 73. You can see the colored rendering up in the upper corner there. That is from one of the town's consultants that came up with that plan, showing a much more emphasis on that plan and drawing it more toward more of a focal point for the development. In speaking with the applicant yesterday, they are open to redesigning some of their project to help incorporate these concepts at a more grander scale. So we'll be working with that with them over the next week or two. And of course, the highway commercial development, working with them about screening some of their parking areas and breaking those up a little bit more to be more in line with what a traditional TOD would be, even though this is zoned highway commercial in the lower section towards Highway 73. Kudos to them for, as we've gone through the design process, creating better urban open spaces. We're still working with them to get these clarified and brought up to a higher level of design and really nailed down as to what we're going to be getting in these areas. Again, one of the challenges we have is the stormwater on this site, and with the balancing of the earthwork, there is going to be a resultant stormwater pond over in the southeast corner. So we're working with them to amenitize that and make it as attractive of a feature as it can be. And then we're also working with them, and we had a good discussion with them yesterday about what we would expect from the high-level design for the architecture for these buildings in this project. You can see it's smack dab in the middle of one of our mixed-use nodes over here off of 73 and 21, so staff would anticipate intensification over time. Again, we got back in, again, we had the Caldwell Crossing project from a few years ago that introduced multifamily as well as some commercial. As you come south where the actual station will be, we'll have the Station South project, was just approved a few weeks ago. So this is in line with, for intensification. Some things that we need to work a little bit on are the design principles of the project, upping that to a high level of design. Again, we've had very productive conversations with the applicant over the last few weeks. Again, increasing some of those commercial activities that are there. And again, we're always striving for that excellence in design. That's our job, to push them. Opportunities for excellence. I just give a quick list of things that we would look for. Again, we went over these with the applicant just yesterday, and they have agreed to have a meeting with us next week to work out some of those details to increase this project. And here, overall, we are in support of the intensification of the land uses in this area. We're just working with them to nail out some of those details. And I am here to answer any questions that you might have, and I know the applicant has a presentation as well.
Any questions for staff? Commissioner Walsh?
Yeah, Brian, in reading through the staff report, and I was trying to understand it, the location of the grocery store, and you made
Yes.
some comment about the Harris Teeter in Davison and wanting to move that. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, so if you look, there's actually a picture of the Harris Teeter and Davidson right there in the upper right corner. Really, it's more like the layout and the function, how it works. It's a challenging site with the topography and the requirements of the grocery store. This is going to be backing up to the rail bridge. Okay, so the service area is going to be limited, how they get in and out of there. One thing that we did like about this project in Davidson is the grocery store wasn't as front and center. It was pulled back a little bit. There are market realities that the applicant can speak to about where the grocery store wants to be placed in a center. Ideally, does it go up a little bit further north? Possibly. You would then want some liner buildings along 73. We do have limited land, limited area that we can work with. So I would not suspect you will see a significant change in the location of the grocery store from what's being proposed, but are there things that we can do, minor shifts? Can we screen the pharmacy a little bit better? How do we treat these? How do we treat the design? Those types of things. That's what we're looking for.
Gotcha. And then also, it said staff recommends limiting the extent of automobile-dependent uses within the HC portion of the development.
Correct. If money were no object, okay, and it is, you can see that little green space in the middle. That is a stream with a buffer on it. And when you impact that, there are mitigation fees and credits you have to purchase. Changes the economics of this whole design center. Of course, they can speak to that. If money were no object, they would mitigate, for us, we would want that to be mitigated out, and you could put a wonderfully wrapped, potentially with a parking deck building. It would just really tie these two projects together. Unfortunately, money is a reality, so they have to work around this feature, and they are doing I think they've got some images in their presentation. You'll see some perspectives as to what they're proposing to do for this area. We would love to see the mixed-use buildings that are up, the L-shaped buildings that are up in the corner of the roundabout, transitioning into more of an urban area where that ravine is, down to more of your traditional suburban shopping style center. But again, that's just not on the cards, not in the cards for right now. They will. I know part of their presentation is going to speak to the evolution of this project past what you're going to see today.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, we're ready for the applicant.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. There you go.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm Susan Irvin with Irvin Law Group. My first time presenting here, so this is exciting, kind of a little scary because it's so big, but I'm not going to say too much about this presentation, but and Brian did such a great job. I mean, we were just saying, he just presented our whole case for us. So I'm only going to touch on the things, hopefully, that he has not talked about. First, I just want to introduce the team, the development team who's here. Kevin Rogers with WRS, principal. Also Frank Peters with WRS. Dimitri Bacchus, who is with Metrocology. Dimitri is the master planner on this project. Kelly Wagner with Foresight, and Bob Bennett and Elizabeth Brown with Prestige. So they're all here to answer any questions you might have. I'm going to talk briefly about WRS, and I'm doing this because I think I can brag a little bit. I don't think that Kevin would do this, but one of the things that he was asked at the community meeting were some projects where they have done mixed-use developments. And he spoke to those projects. One of them was a project in Charleston. One of them was a project in Gaithersburg. And what we have done together with the planning staff on this project has really been an evolution. Kevin and his team started working and talking with the planning department about a year and a half ago. And I think after several months, he decided that they needed to bring in Dimitri as the master planner and kind of make this project more sophisticated and go to another level. They've spent many hours and iterations, at least, 100 variations, but 12 major site plan changes since they started. And it's been an evolving focus, a very important site for the town. And so we have been mindful of that. I asked Kevin to send me an example of the Gaithersburg project. He sent me an over 100-page design book today. Now, this was the construction level design book for the project in Gaithersburg. It is a 100-acre site. It is a repurposing of an old mall, a 1 million square foot mall. And this is a high view of the entire project with various component parts. And again, all of this work was done at the construction stage, not necessarily at the zoning stage. And one of the things that we've been talking with the planning staff about is providing more than just the basic concept images that they're accustomed to doing at zoning. And I think just from purposes of their understanding, they know they're going to do a good job. But what I said is, you need to show the town board what kind of work you do. And what these images show you is an attention to detail. This is the Lake Forest, more kind of downtown section of the project. This is the Lake District, which is the mixed-use commercial district. You can see there, there's markets and there's common open space and community areas. These are just some examples of other areas in the actual project, which is breaking ground now. These images really show the character of the development, the quality of the development, and how they have established that character through architecture and landscaping. So some of these images here, Dimitri was the master planner on this project too. And so that's why, I've asked him to present really the plan for this project. We don't have to go over all the things that Brian talked to you about already. He did a great job talking about the community plan and all of the policies. This just shows kind of an overlay of all the various parts of the community plan into this project, and the fact that this property is really a nexus for so many important elements of the community plan. I'm going to ask Dimitri to come up, and Kevin is here to answer any questions you have. Take it away.
My name is Dimitri Batchis. I live in Savannah, Georgia, 215 East Gordon Street, in downtown in the Historic District. Thanks, commissioners, mayor, and staff for your time this evening. Speaking of, I wish I had the time to share a Huntersville story as engaging as Commissioner Powell, I think you had. I got a great one I can tell later. I want to begin by saying that it is our intention to use all the advantages made available by this site to add to the quality of life and standard of living of Huntersville. And we had a presentation that Brian actually gave, which is fantastic. So I'm going to quickly go through some other components which will hopefully leave you with a lot of questions that we can answer in more detail. The actual site, as we get down into the detail, what we want to do is make sure that, as we were saying earlier, that we make sure we add to the quality of life, standard of living by tying all the pieces together that we've read about in the comp plan. The site itself is very challenging, and this is what I hope will spur a lot of questions shortly. Our constraints are significant. We are limited our access off of Sam Fur, which is being reconstructed into a super street. The Katz Bridge, which goes over Sam Fur, I don't know if you know this yet, but it will be 17 feet above grade and will descend slowly until it gets off of our site to the north as it gets to the peak development site. which is over here, as you can see. This entire stretch is basically walled off by a concrete wall that's averaging about 10 to 12 feet high. So we had to be very careful how we staged this project and put units on this project because we didn't want to abut townhomes and residential or basically anything against a 15-foot tall wall. We have significant topography, about 80 feet from Sam Fir going in. That area in green that you see there is the most significant part, which is the stream. We began to think about what we could do in there in terms of parks and stormwater. The elevation next door to the industrial park is also quite challenging. We actually looked down over their roofs in some points, so we had to figure out what we would be able to do there that was of significance and that could be sellable and memorable. And then the drainage and the existing creek are also constraints. But having said all that, the location in Huntersville is fantastic. Proximity to the red line, less than a 10-minute walk. That's the red emblem at the very top of that 5-minute walk line, so it's actually even closer. We're in a designated TOD area, which is fantastic, and we also complement the development just to our north that was rezoned that Peak Development submitted. And of course, we have the Carolina Thread Trail that comes through the site. The zoning map, we have a series of mixed-use buildings that frame our roundabout. The main entry drive, Siegel, continues through and connects to the north, as Brian was saying. We're looking to zone the first part of it, the bottom third, highway commercial, to relate to the Highway 73, and then TOD to be as close to the actual transit stop, which is just off the top of this map. So we wanted all the residents to be within a very short and pleasant walk of that station. You want that station to be very used, obviously. It's going to be a regional transit stop, and you have a TOD designation. The illustrative plan is going to get to the part that I think is the above and beyond that we're trying to instill into this, and we've been working with Brian and staff for quite a while now, going through iterations. Susan said we had about a dozen major ones, but internally we've been playing with this thing like a jigsaw puzzle for about a year with all these constraints, trying to make sure that we not only do we create a great place, but that it's marketable. What we try to do, especially when you're designing urbanism, is you want to create a series of memorable places that people can choose to use depending on what they feel like during the day. Do they want a passive space where they can just go lay down, play with the dog, read a book? Do they want an active place to go where they have a dog park or a children's park where they can take the kids out, throw frisbee? Do they want to go to a plaza or a space where other people are also going to be engaged in maybe eating outdoors? Maybe there's a festival of some kind, a food truck situation could be happening where there may be some commercial users. We've incorporated all of those into this, and what you'll see here is from the lawn, which we have at the very northern end abutting the Peak Development property, more of a quiet area. We have a dog park located in this spot, fronted by townhomes. As you come around, we have the park. This is a very large, long, triangular neighborhood park that actually is going to be the foundation for the thread trail that comes through. Brian mentioned that we have two versions of it. We can choose either one. We're now working with them very intently to get this middle one, which is the preferred one, activated, and we'll show you that in just a moment. But this park has a playground in it as well. It's fronted on all sides by buildings and streets and street trees. It's a wonderful space. Adjacent to it and connected through pedestrian passages, which you'll see here, is the community garden. That was the only thing we could figure out that had enough humph to get through in terms of providing a space that doesn't have to depend on marketing, because right next to it is the bridge for the rail and the diesel train. And then we have our large square, which is the one that is the center. It actually is anchored by the similar square that Peak has to the north at the transit stop. We've been working with staff to incorporate the mixed use. The buildings along our roundabout will all be commercial ground floor facing the roundabout. We've been working on a pedestrian-oriented gas station and the inclusion of that garden, as we said, at the buffer. And we're working right now to redesign our version of this part of the plan to incorporate the town's preferred version and the potential of a tunnel underneath Sam Fir. Our architecture is all preliminary, as you saw on those other previous plans that we did for Lake Forest. We worked through those in increments. This is the townhome example that we would have. We'll be doing the same thing with the apartments. The renderings here are in progress. Again, these are mostly for us to figure out if our spaces are correct. This is the stream, the creek that runs through. the area that Brian was saying, in a perfect world, if we had the money, we could fill that in and make a high-density project there. Because we can't do that, we're looking to incorporate it as open space that would activate the larger open space that we're designing here. This is a ground view of coming into that roundabout. The commercial building, the apartments are on this side, and the commercial buildings are on this side of the roundabout. The retention pond would be on this side, which we also intend to landscape and make an amenity. One of the streets that we're looking to incorporate the design so that when they close down, all this would read as one open space that you could have food trucks or festivals in. This is the large neighborhood park with the children's playground, and this is the lawn at the top with the dog park. I'm going to let Susan go over the community benefits and then leave the rest of it up so we can answer questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dimitri. I have already, and Dimitri and Brian have actually already talked about the 2040 plan. We've talked about the fact that this is really a keystone. It is the center of multimodal connections throughout Huntersville. It will provide dedication of land for the Seam Trail and also to design that entrance to the pedestrian tunnel. And it works in conjunction with the developments to the north of Siegel and the transit station. It's a great destination for Red Line travelers. And it also provides this pedestrian access to that transit station. A couple of things that we haven't really talked too much about is the attainable residential units. As Brian said, we had originally discussed 5%. I think Commissioner Rivers may have a question about that. Economic benefits for the entire project, construction would be $200 million for the entire project, approximately 300 jobs. That is just the construction expense. The actual valuation would likely be more. So that's a summary. I'm happy to answer any questions. I really think the experts here are Kevin and Dimitri on details, so would love to answer any questions you all have.
Commissioner Quarles?
I know you're going to get back with staff as far as the project designs and stuff of the facilities. I see you have Whole Foods on here.
Oh, that was, Whole Foods was on the Lake Forest project.
Yes.
So, yes.
What type of grocery store are you looking at bringing in? We're looking at a Food Lion and Aldi and something that will compete with a Harris Teeter. Now, you can't say which one, but is it a boutique style grocery store?
My name is Kevin Rogers with WRS, and whether it's your questions or anyone else's, I'm happy to do my best to try and answer them as straightforwardly as I can. I'm not entirely sure what a boutique grocery store may or may not be, but I can try to paint the picture for you. At a fairly high level, it has to be a grocer that there are three with whom we are negotiating, creating a competitive environment for who is willing to step up and absorb the, no offense to Mr. Knox, the high land cost, the extraordinarily high site work cost, and what is very different than most other cities or towns, very high cost of architecture, green space, all of the bells and whistles that you might not find in any town USA. So it has to be a grocer that can afford to do that, do the sales volume and have the profit margins to be able to support that. More narrowly, attempting to answer your question, it's a grocer. Any one of the three would be one that's not presently in the market. I can give you examples of some of the types that cannot afford this type of project. Save a Lot cannot afford this type of project. My experience, people like Aldi cannot afford this. Lidl cannot afford it. I think those are fine grocers. They all have their place, and they have a loyal customer base where they're built. This is going to be, someone that has to have a little bit higher profile a good bit higher profile to be able to absorb everything that you've seen here.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yeah, I got a few questions. What's the total acreage on the parks that you have? You got like 4 of them, I think it was, or?
The total open space is probably about 30-something% of the entire site. Usable is about 28%. I can't give you an exact park space, but it's a significant amount of open space.
I gotcha. And one of the slides, and I may have misheard you, you were saying the ground floor was all commercial. Can you go back to the slide? I think it was around the
roundabout?
The roundabout?
Yes.
Because it sounds like one of the challenges we have here is again, not meeting that commercial space requirement. Whoop, if you go back one.
Go back one.
Or whichever direction that was, maybe it was the other way.
Yep. So
Go two slides in one direction. I don't know which direction you're going.
This one?
One more.
This one.
Okay.
Yep.
So those are your 2 mixed-use buildings. So you're saying where's the commercial space? Is it those boxes?
See, the darker brown are the plazas. These are going to be hardscape and landscaped combination of materials and plantings and benches and so forth. Fronting on that and fronting onto the roundabout along the length of both of these Ls, the arms, would be non-residential commercial space.
Okay, so those boxes I'm seeing are not just the commercial, but you're saying that whole ground floor?
Well, how deep it goes back, we're not certain, but the ground floor facing each of these would be commercial space, yes.
Okay, because the one to the left looks like there's 2 boxes, and then the one to the right only has 1 box. So
That's correct. I think the mixed use was 5%. And what was the 5,000 square feet is the code requirement?
The 2 boxes you see on the left, on the corner of the building is full rent commercial space, coffee shop, floral shop, whatever it may be. The other box you see just to the left of that is amenity space, leasing office, gym for the apartment building. So it's doors that face outward, functions to the passerby, much like a coffee shop or a floral shop might, but it, in practice, is residents of those multifamily buildings who access their, the gym and the leasing office and whatever that is that they may have, pool tables, all the grills that are set up outside. That's the second little rectangle you see there.
I got you. And so the non-residential commercial, I think somewhere in the report it says it's somewhere between 10 and 15%?
I don't have a percentage number for you. I think what we've discussed with staff is up to 5,000 square feet of for rent commercial space in those 2 buildings.
If I could just add one thing. The shopfront building type under the Huntersville ordinance does not have a requirement of 60% commercial on the first floor. A true mixed use, what's classified, it's not even, mixed use isn't even a building type in the Huntersville ordinance. So this is something that we have just started talking with the planning staff about, and I think we'll continue to do that. And we've scheduled a meeting Monday to talk about any kind of outstanding issues like that. But I had not heard the 60% number until tonight, because it's not an ordinance requirement for shopfront.
Okay. And then with reference to the project, the phasing of the project, is all the site work going to be done at once? Is there a process where you say we're going to build, this first, this second, in 3 phases, 2 phases, 4 phases?
Yeah,
And
so
what will be the first phase?
Because there's about 80 feet of topographic change, 80 feet in the back, 80 feet higher in the back, it drops down in the middle and rises back up a little bit towards Sam Fur. We actually have to cut a significant amount in the back, bring it towards Sam Fur, such that I don't know how to even work the clicker, but the little buildings that you saw fronting on Sam Fur, code requires a front door that's serviceable, so you step off the sidewalk from Sam Fur, you can walk in the door of those retail buildings. We have to pull a significant amount of dirt forward, fill it in, from Sanford, the sidewalk, as you step off of the sidewalk from Sanford into this site, currently today, you'd fall into a hole. So we're going to bring all that dirt forward to bring it up to a level. To answer your question, all of the site work, infrastructure, off-site work, it can't happen in anything but one phase. So that would all happen in one phase. Given that we're probably, this question came up in the community meeting, this same question, and I understand it. We probably have post-rezoning, so after the rezoning, let's say that occurs in March, which is the trajectory we're currently on, there's probably another 8 or 10 months, Brian may say 14 months of site plan approvals. That's before we can start construction. So it's, from today, we're a year and a half away from starting construction. Who and what are the commitments we have from the marketplace, to first occupy any of the buildings? I can't sit here and tell you today that I know for sure what the phasing of the vertical construction, the buildings would be. We'd love to see all of that happen at the exact same time.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand that. I'm not so worried about it happening all at once, but I want to make sure we don't get into a situation where, apartments go up first and retail follows. So I would hope by the time we can get to decision time, assuming it's a positive one, that we would have some commitment to how we would be phasing this.
Understood.
Sorry, I have to make one correction. So I got it backwards when I said that a minute ago. Shopfront is 60% first floor commercial. The mixed-use building is the one that doesn't have the, but anyway, we're going to work it out.
No problem. Thank you.
Well, since Ms. Irvin called my name, I'm assuming that she was expecting an attainable housing question from me, but all of us up here are advocates of attainable housing, so anyone could have asked the question. So are we looking at 5%, or has that number increased, or what are we looking at in regards to attainable housing units?
So we discussed it. A 5% number would be 21 units, which is, I think, the highest of any project. So we went back and I asked Kevin to consider what higher percentage would he be able to do. I'll just let you answer that, what you've decided.
Absent, to my knowledge, any requirement in code for there to be a X percentage of affordable workforce, attainable, it has a different name in different communities. What we can do is 7.5%, which gets to the roughly 31 or 32 units in the aggregate across the entirety of the project. And, I'm a big fan of our neighbor to the north, the development that got approved, 4 months ago, 3 months ago. I think they're doing 5 units, I think. And no knock on them, dear friend, actually. But we have figured out a way to get that number up to 7.5% of the total.
And the attainable units, they will all be mixed in. There will not be anything separate or in regards to the units? The attainable units, they will all.
I think I
kind of phase in.
understand your question.
They're not separate.
Yeah, no.
They're all mixed within the.
Correct. One of the
Okay.
slides Susan put up said same finishes, same, they're spread out. Yeah.
Commissioner Hunt?
One of the staff comments under policy LU 8.2, they asked if you'd be willing to make a financial contribution toward the Greenway Tunnel beneath 73. Is that something you can do?
I can answer that question. We discussed that. A project like Birkdale, might be able to handle that kind of infrastructure. One of the things that WRS has committed to do is to pay for the design and construction of the entrance to the pedestrian tunnel. So that's something, Dimitri is going to be working on and designing it with the topography, which is considerable, to create the entrance to that tunnel is something that they can commit to.
Okay, thank you for that. it's not so much on this slide, but on the previous slides, it is a sea of parking. Like, it is a literal sea of parking. Is there no way we can go vertical with some of that? The financial constraints are just such that there's no way we could do anything vertical and maybe mitigate some of the sea there.
Anything can be constructed. Anything could be built. We at present date are proposing a project that is envisioned in the town's 2040 plan to be very dense, not just this project, but this quadrant. So that big red circle in the 2040 plan, very, very dense, served by the forthcoming transit center in the future at some point. And I don't know when that point in the future is. The world we live in today, this is a suburban endeavor. We are implementing a lot of things that are forward-looking, that are not typically found in a suburban setting. Typically, a lot of the design elements. And what I'm getting at is that in a suburban setting such as this, with a population density such as there is in the vicinity around, pick the amoeba-shaped polygon, pick a circle, a mile, 2 miles, whatever it is, the number of bodies that there are available to come shop at any of these retailers dictate the sales volume that a grocer can do. I lived in Chicago one summer when I was in college, internship. A grocery store can survive on about a, quote, trade area the size of this auditorium, because there's 100,000 people that live straight up in the air. And we don't have that here. They can afford parking garages, they can afford parking on roofs, they can afford parking below stores. That is a black box, and we may have had this discussion the other day. That is a black box I'm describing to you that you as decision makers can't see inside. I'm describing the black box to you, and I understand that it's difficult for you to accept words, because words can be cheap, coming from a developer, right? It is a market-based reality today, and I would say for a pretty reasonable time into the future, that a project like this, with all of the other things you see up on the screen, can't also afford a tunnel and also afford structured parking. The project to the north of us, immediately to the north, unless my facts are incorrect, they're not building a parking garage. They're dedicating a space for CATS or some other governmental agency to come in, buy the land from them, and build a parking garage with, call it what you will, taxpayer money, government money, because they're faced with the same constraints we are. So that may be an unsatisfying answer, but that's about as good as I can do.
One follow-up, Mayor Pro Tem, and we agree, right? Parking is an issue. If you, from a bird's eye view, you look over a lot of places and it looks pretty abysmal. If you look at Brookdale Village, for example, it's a sea of parking as well. But the great thing about Brookdale Village is how you move through that space. You don't really see the parking that much. Initially you actually did, because as you're coming off Sam Fur, you're driving through a parking lot that's fronting all of those shops that are there. And then you get into the little main street that's tucked in the middle. So it's actually like a shopping mall without the roof, right? That's basically what Brookdale is. They've been filling in over time slowly, and they're masking those parking garages, masking the parking field. When you come into our site, the main drive up, you'll notice as you come in, the corner is anchored by the retail that we were talking about at grade that Kevin was saying is going to be very difficult to build, because that's really currently a 40-foot drop. It's a pit. So all that will be filled up. We're going to have plazas, open spaces, areas for people to sit out and eat at the restaurants or whatever business is there. You drive up, we'll have that park that's part of the stream, the drainage area, landscaped heavily, get up to our roundabout, and you have another node of commercial, and then you move up through, And all the buildings screen all the parking, just like they do in Brookdale. When you drive through and walk through this, the only place you're going to see a parking field is the one in front of the grocery store. And that's it. And that's, how we mitigate the example that at the moment the value is such that if we were to put a parking garage out here, we wouldn't be able to get a tenant. And then all the amenities that we're talking about, we wouldn't be able to afford. The value, it's $5,000 per space at grade. It's $25,000 to $35,000 per space for structured parking. So, and that's a number that comes directly out of the revenue, right? That you use fewer people, no housing, affordable housing component. So it's a balancing act. But what we've done is, in the future, you'll notice the way we've done all of our parking is strategic. It's in squares, it's in blocks. All of these can be redeveloped. Those apartments can be knocked down and can be redeveloped with core parking at some point later. So as I said earlier, we were talking with Brian, we're like a do no harm thing. We do what's possible now to get it built and to make it as beautiful a place as can be had now, even above and beyond, actually. And then later, as the community grows and evolves and densifies, it can molt and become even more of what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Smallwood?
I have a question. Was there a traffic study done for this size project?
There was. It was fairly certain. We submitted it to town. We submitted it to DOT. In the process of working on some of these refinements with staff, it changed some of the numbers. And when I say change some of the numbers, it changed some of the uses, which in turn changed some of the trip generation calculations. That traffic study is being revised and should be back in the hands of the town and DOT, but within a couple weeks.
I'll answer the rest of it. It does call for 2 turn lanes, and NCDOT is reviewing, they'll be the one reviewing the TIA just because of the location. So, and one of the things that we'll add is a condition that any NCDOT recommendations will be followed.
Okay, so if they do recommend a turn lane, that would be
Yes, and the TIA
implemented.
actually does recommend 2.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? We do have some public comment. I'm going to start with Michelle Edwards. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Edwards. My husband and I, Jaron, are the owners of 102 Parr Drive, where our dance studio has served families of this community for 27 years. When we first built our business, Highway 73 Semper Road was just 2 lanes, and the Target Shopping Center at Exit 25 was only taking shape in construction. So imagine life without Target. Like many who live here today, we chose Huntersville for our business because we believed in its potential as a place for families, community, and long-term growth in Lake Norman. We understand that change can be uncertain, and we respect the concerns that come with many new developments. However, after attending prior community meetings and reviewing the plans for the proposed Knox Crossing at the corner of Samford Road and Old Statesville Road, we believe this project represents thoughtful and responsible growth. The design is intentional, the housing is well suited to the area, and the inclusion of a much-needed grocery store and community-centered space will strengthen the surrounding neighborhoods. We also see the planned infrastructure improvements and future light rail as opportunities to improve connectivity and quality of life. Having witnessed Huntersville evolution for nearly 3 decades, we feel confident that this developer is committed to quality and into enhancing, not replacing, the character of this community. For these reasons, we support this development, and we believe it will be a positive addition to the area. And being part of the property that is the suggested pedestrian tunnel, I feel like that we will be part of future conversations because that will be on the lower end of our property. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Don Doherty, you have 3 minutes.
Hey, I'm Don Doherty on the property to the east side of the property. If I can pull that back up. Can you? Oh, I'm sorry. But anyway, I've looked at their plans, and I think their plans look great. I know Kevin had mentioned that if it didn't get rezoned to this, then it would be like, buildings like to the right of me. And I think this development's going to be a whole lot better. I think it's going to look better. But I don't need 3 minutes, but but I think it's going to improve our building too. We have a CrossFit and we got some other things going on. So, being able to go to the stores, the grocery stores, commercial buildings. So anyway, I'm good with it.
Thank you, sir. Charles Knox, you have 3 minutes.
I'll try not to tell too many stories because I'll take longer than 3 minutes. I am a Knox, after all. My name is Charles Knox. I live at 21415 Bethel Church Road in Cornelius. I'm one of the property owners. For those of you who don't know me, I own the Knox Group, a commercial real estate firm here in our region, and we're focused on the Lake Norman, North Meck part of town. Much like Burkdale, not Burkdale Village, but Old Burkdale, where my family owned that land, we picked a developer we felt like would do a great job. We've done the same thing here. We have identified, we actually went out and sought developers and took proposals from a number of them that we felt were top quality folks. And we ended up picking Kevin's group, and we've been super impressed. I've worked with Dimitri before, way back on, I think it's the Antiquity Project in Cornelius when I was the agent working for the town up there. And these guys know what they're doing. They're going to do a great job. And from my perspective as a Knox that really cares about our community, sorry, I get choked up talking about it. We want to see something great. I mean, the site's zoned for 500,000 square feet of industrial space. I build industrial space. I could go do that tomorrow in my sleep, but that's not what the community wants. That's not what this land deserves at that key intersection for town. So I hope you guys will support it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sandy Knox, you have 3 minutes.
I'm Sandy Knox. I am a Huntersville resident for the last 28 years. I built my house in Burkdale when the golf course was still being built, if you can imagine. And much along with what Charles said, we've been receiving offers over the years off and on for 18 years or so. And I can tell you we've received a lot of offers that would not have enhanced the town. I think we did find a developer that was willing to share our vision of something that would leave a lasting good mark on the town of Huntersville and enhance our entire community. And I hope you'll support it.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff or the applicant? All right, we'll move on to item number 9D, conduct a public hearing on petition Annex 25-03.
Thank you, Mayor. As you said, this is a petition by the town for annexation 2503. We'll go through all the fun slides here. Thank you. Almost there. There we go. All right. And at this time, we'd like to submit our staff report to the record. This is just a small 1.2 acres of land right-of-way adjacent to Huntersville Concord Road that abuts existing town. It's adjacent to the existing town core and our corporate boundaries. What we're doing is we're looking to annex this voluntarily to allow for some infrastructure projects to occur IEA sidewalk along Huntersville Concord Road. This, by being in the town limits, we are able to spend town funds on said project. And I'm here if you guys have any questions.
Any
Right.
question? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
As I asked you earlier, I
Sure.
received a phone call about, 4 o'clock this afternoon about
Yes, sir.
annexing and rezoning. Just for the listening audience, because I know the answer, could you explain what annexing is and the
Sure.
benefit to annex into the town?
Sure, in Huntersville, land falls into two categories. It's either in the corporate limits, which is in town limits, or in our ETJ, our extraterritorial jurisdiction. When you're inside the town limits, you receive additional services, police, fire, garbage, and a couple other services as well. Neither are affected by zoning. Zoning is a land use tool that encompasses all 65 square miles, both in and out of our town limits. But again, when you're in the town limits, you receive a different tax, and you get those services. When you're outside, you also have a fire and police surcharge, but you do not have trash and a couple other services as well. So when you come into the town limits, you pick up a couple of services. And honestly, I think dollar for dollar, there's not much difference today. In the past, that surcharge didn't exist or was much lower, but now there's that police and fire surcharge out there. There's not a whole lot of difference as far as cost. So that's the difference between the two. All right? Any other questions? All right.
All right, should we go to item 9E?
Yes,
Conduct a
ma'am.
public hearing on petition Annex 26-02.
Great. As the mayor said, this is for 2602. I'd like to submit this town's, the applicant's staff report. This is KB Homes is proposing to annex these parcels here into the town limits. This project was a minor subdivision done a number of years ago. This is just kind of worked through the whole system. And ultimately, these residents would like to be part of our town and receive town services. So they have gotten together, and through KB Homes, their builder, has asked us to voluntarily annex them into the town limits. Here, if you guys have any questions.
No questions?
Hope not.
All right. We'll proceed to item 10A, which is consider adopting an ordinance approving petition Annex 26-02, a request by KB Home.
Correct. As we just spoke, these residents would like to become part of the town, and have asked to be voluntarily annexed. I'm here if you guys have any questions on this one. And we add the staff report to the record.
Any questions? All right, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve petition Annex 26-02, a request by KB Home Charlotte, Inc. to annex 2.874 contiguous acres into the town of Huntersville.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item number 10B, consider adopting an ordinance approving petition Annex 25-03.
Again, we'd like to submit the staff report to the record, and this is the town who is the applicant and asking for this to be voluntarily annexed so we can provide some infrastructure services out here.
Okay. Is there a motion? Or questions?
No, I hope not.
How about a motion?
Okay. I would like to make the motion that we approve petition Annex 25-03, a request by the town of Huntersville to annex 1.221 contiguous acres into the town of Huntersville.
And is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Item number 11, closing comments. We'll start with Commissioner Cornett.
I'd just like to say it was great getting to meet with all you guys last week on our retreat, and I thought it was a great use of our time, and I look forward to working with you guys the next 2 years.
Commissioner Walsh.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Commissioner Rivers.
Happy Black History Month! So in lieu of Black History Month, I wanted to highlight North Carolina A&T, North Carolina Agriculture and Technical State University, which is located in Greensboro, North Carolina. But what I wanted to highlight specifically was the Greensboro Four, which on February 1st, 1960, 4 black freshmen from Agriculture and Technical College of North Carolina, today known as North Carolina A&T State University, sat down at the segregated lunch counter at the Woolworths in downtown Greensboro and asked to be served. When staff refused to serve them, they refused to to leave. This was significant because the Greensboro sit-ins ignited the youth-led nonviolent movement that spread across the South, catalyzing the desegregation of lunch counters and public spaces, capturing national media attention and leading to the formation of the influential Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. By challenging segregation directly and peacefully, the sit-ins demonstrated the power of grassroots activism, inspired countless other protests, and marked a crucial turning point in the civil rights movement, shifting focus to direct action and youth empowerment. Again, happy Black History Month.
That's awesome. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Hunt. Commissioner Quarles.
We see that there are attempts to remove our history. Knowledge is key, and one thing that can't never be taken away from us is what we have in our head. A little-known Black history. This evening, I take the moment to spotlight LaToya Rivers. Born December 6, 1980, LaToya Rivers is a fifth-generation resident from the town of Huntersville. LaToya Rivers was raised and currently lives in the historic Pottstown community. LaToya is a graduate of North Meck High School. She is also a graduate of the historic Black College and University, the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical University, the university that looks up to North Carolina Central University. On Tuesday, November 7, 2023, LaToya Rivers made history by becoming the first Black woman elected to serve as town commissioner for the town of Huntersville. That is history that will never be erased. So, as we look at the many Black men and women who have shaped our country, state, and town, please share the phenomenal history of Commissioner LaToya Rivers. I enjoyed seeing the Huntersville history in the foyer of our old town hall. Who knows, years from now, there may be a portrait or verbiage of Commissioner Rivers, the town of Huntersville's first Black female commissioner. And she did not know it was coming. Your mom did, though.
Thank you, Commissioner Quarles. Commissioner Smallwood.
Well, I can't follow that or top that, so no, but thank you. Praying for no more snow.
All right. I do want to conclude with, I'll go in order of least importance first. Scott's birthday, Commissioner Cornett's birthday was yesterday, so I want to say happy birthday to Commissioner Cornett. Hope you had a wonderful day. And also to thank our staff and everyone who helped organize and put on our board retreat, which was outstanding, and it was very well run, and we very much appreciate all the hard work that went into that. And then lastly, of course, to wish everyone a happy Black History Month and to encourage and remind everyone in the town of Huntersville to explore the history of slavery in the town of Huntersville and to acknowledge that the beginning economics of this town started with the plantations that were here, and that's something that should not be overlooked or forgotten. And so make a point to educate yourselves on that part of our town's history as very significant, and we want to make sure it's not forgotten. So, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned.